Hello, viewers of the internet. It is I, the Salamander King, and today is a video about super jumping. And why am I making this video? Well, there's a thread on Squidboards called Splatoon 3 General Issues, where we sort of discuss all the things we like and don't like about Splatoon 3. I guess general issues, mostly dislike. And personally, I think Splat 3 is already by far the best of the three games. But people do understandably have some complaints, and even I have some complaints myself. And in the Squidboards thread, there's a user by the name of Award, and they've been really getting into the nitty gritty about how the matchmaking works, how Nintendo picks teams, how Nintendo tries to balance these teams, things like this. Really sort of maybe not theory crafting is maybe not the best word, but getting in there, trying to figure out what's going on. But Award was also talking with another user named Saber. If either of them are watching this video, what's up, guys? These two are talking, and they both have a complaint about the gameplay itself. See, most of the complaints with Splatoon 3 are about things like the bad netcode, which is indeed very bad. And I don't know how Nintendo screwed this up so bad, but it is very bad. The bad netcode, and it's really buggy compared to the last game, and yada yada yada. Not much with the gameplay itself, but this is a complaint about how the gameplay itself sort of changed, how the philosophy behind the gameplay changed. And what they've been saying is that the game feels more. They say it has a quote unquote momentum problem. And what they mean by this is that games snowball, for lack of a better term, if you're familiar with snowballing, which is where one team gets the objective and then we'll just snowball it into a victory, with little to no chance for the enemy team, once they've been put into a disadvantaged state, to ever get back and get the objective and even have a chance of winning the game. And I was talking to them about this. I was a little bit of talking, a lot of sort of lurking, as I do. And Award suggested that the reason the game is so snowbally is because of super jumping. And to some extent, I agree. Like, all of the evidence that Award uses to present this sort of hypothesis, I agree with. It's the conclusion that they draw from that evidence that I disagree with. So here I am on Sendao.inc. This is the Splatoon 2 version, since Splat 3 version has not yet been fully completed. They don't have the map planner function for the Splat 3 version quite yet. So I picked Inkblot Art Academy, which is in both games, so we could sort of look at how a game plays out, how super jumping plays into momentum, and all these other things. So, on the green team, I have modeled out here, we have, let me pick, here, we have, crap, that's not what I wanted to do. We have the E-Leader, Splash-O-Matic, Splatter Shot, and the Sloshing Machine. This is sort of your standard comp you see right now. Maybe not exactly this, but similar to this. A lot of these four weapons, very common. Similarly, on the purple team, we've got Splat Charger, Tetra Dualies, 52 Gal, and Squeezer. These weapons are also very common. If you notice, these comps are very similar. They both have short-range aggro shooters, sort of mid-range crossfire, more supportive slayers, and they have two quick weapons with aggressive kits, along with the two anchor chargers. And that's kind of what you see right now. I'm going to get rid of all these lines so that they don't clutter up everything else later on. So that's what you see. Now, the scenario that was presented in the Discord thread, or not Discord thread, the Squidboards thread, was imagine if green team, they're all set up like this, right? Now imagine if green team gets a wipe on the purple team. So that's, let's see, who's going to die first? Tetra's probably going to die first, then 52, then the Squeezer, and I don't know. In this scenario, the Charger doesn't die. So I'll leave him here for now, but I also want to touch on this later. They got that. They get, 3 down. They're all still standing. What happens? Well, one of them, probably the one's closer, so probably the splatter shot, takes the Rainmaker. Let's see, by the time they respawn, the Rainmaker will be what, right here maybe? Yeah. Rainmaker's here. Splash is moving up, probably about here. Machine is also probably in this area somewhere. I'll put Splash up here. Machine will be here. And the Charger will probably be right here on the box. So, this team right here is pushing. This Charger is the only one left. Charger will either stay at this ground and kill these guys, or it will retreat back up here. But say green's in this position. How does purple get back in? And how does super jumping come into effect in all this? Say this Charger, while they're coming up, gets a god tier snipe on the machine. Machine goes back, right? And the machine goes back, but you have to have someone to fill this hole, so Splashmatic retreats a little bit. The machine, what Award is saying is that because the pushing team has all of this turf, let me draw this out. Because pushing team has essentially this half of the map, and yada yada, right? This is their line of ink. They say that the super jump back in essentially renders the death of this machine useless. And to some degree, that's true. And that's how it was intended to work. Because in most games, not most games, but in most matches of this game, if you were to take out one player, then this whole push would just die, and nobody would be able to push more than like 10 feet at a time, probably. Charger would be the most godly weapon in the whole game by a long shot. And it would just not be very good, in my opinion. Oh, I picked up all the turf. Delete. So that's kind of the argument presented here. What do I say against that? Issue with that assessment is, oh, that's right, these guys have all respawned by now. I'm not going to put them in specific spots because they're all just kind of like right here. The issue is that once they get up here, or for this guy to super jump back in, he has to start out of position, right? He can't super jump to the splatter shot because he's just going to instantly die. The fact that there's a super jump marker makes all the difference in this. If there's no super jump marker, oh yeah, super jumping would be broken beyond belief. But because there is one, and the fact that it's like a glowing spot where you land and you can't do it, it's unreactable. You can't fight against it. You just die on impact if you didn't pick a good super jump spot, is what keeps the super jump in check. So he can't super jump to the splatter shot because he's holding the Rainmaker and he will just die. Can't super jump to the Splashmatic because he's 5 feet away from the Rainmaker and will also just die to any of these 3 ticklers right here. So the Slosher has to jump to the E-Leader, who's way back here. This is where the problem lies, because now you have 2 people up here pushing. You've only 2 people pushing right now. One of them's holding the Rainmaker. This one can do whatever, right? But this one's got a massive movement penalty. that means these guys are going to have a field day. And especially once just one player is taken out of here, these guys have a big numbers advantage because now it's a 2v4, right? These guys are just going to collapse onto this team and wipe them out instantly. Theoretically, I have to keep, disclaimer is this is like theoretical play, because in a real game, a lot of time players will just miss shots because you know how it goes. This is like a theoretical ordeal, right? So you take out one, if you taking out one player as they're pushing deals a lot more damage to the push than the pushing team taking out one of the defending players, if you understand what I mean by that. Like, say, if the Rainmaker takes out the Charger, he's dead, all right? It doesn't really matter so much because this guy is going to probably move up here, and this guy's going to come here. The purple team has a massive advantage. They have what we like to call spawn advantage. Spawn advantage is, if you look at how the maps are all designed in this game, the spawns always start at the high area and they always get lower and lower until you hit mid. And the reason for that is so when the team with when the aggressive pushing team is moving forward at you, you can sit on the high ground and shoot them, right? Because you're safer on high ground. Unless we'll get sharking is a little bit different. We might talk about sharking maybe a little bit after this, but you have the high ground. They cannot hit you in this whole, let's see, this whole area right here. Basically, it's impossible for the green team to hit any of purple right here. They can climb up this ramp, but most decent players will know climbing up an uninkable surface is just like putting a big kill me sign on your back, because you have basically no mobility if you're staying right here. If this, God, I don't want to pick this up. Come on, guys. Come on, fellas. I don't want to pick that up. I want to pick up this. Okay. This machine was, for example, moving up this ramp and couldn't go into squid form. He would just get rolled by this guy. He'd get rolled by the Tetra, or he'd get rolled by the, I'm deleting this big purple thing, or he'd get, pincered by the Squeezer, or any number of these players would just destroy this machine. And anyone who goes on an uninkable surface, this is like a basic fundamental of the game. Grates and uninkable surfaces inherently are super dangerous because your mobility gets like cut by 90% or something like that, right? 90% is not an exact figure. Don't test me on that, but by a lot, as you can imagine, by a lot, because you can't go into squid form, and because of that, you can't fight very effectively unless you have the pinpoint god aim. A lot of the time, these are slopes. These are uninkable slopes coming out of spawn. So this machine trying to fight, not only can he not move because he's on an uninkable surface, but he's also fighting a literal uphill battle with the 52 gal. No, this machine is not living. So anyway, just removing one player from the push deals a ton of damage. And even for just a few seconds, right? You take out Splash-O-Matics down, Squeezer moves up a little bit, and he's got perfect line of sight accuracy, takes out the Rainmaker. He might at the same time trade with the sloshing machine, but it doesn't matter because the Rainmaker's dead now. Now, the E-Leader has to chortle his way up on here and try and take an aggressive position. Wow. There's Splattershot's dead too. Wow, this machine is probably going to push up a little bit, try and either kill the Squeezer or force him off there. The 52 at this point is down here. He's got direct line of sight kill on this E-Leader, so the E-Leader's dead. Splash is probably in mid by now. Splattershot's probably about right here. I didn't even take into account what the Tetra is doing. The Tetra's over here, messing around with this machine. The machine is never going to be able to kill a good Tetra player because it moves at the speed of light, so machine's dead. That's not even to mention the fact that this Squeezer is going to be crossfiring at anyone in this vicinity right here because it has the range and damage to do so. The Charger at this point is alive again. Charger's probably back up here. These guys are moving in. Weezer can go right here. Petra's flopping back into mid. I put the E-Leader. There he is. He's hard to see against this background. E-Leader is probably about right here. Right? So here we are. Super jumping in. It's high reward, but it's also very high risk. Because if you jump, super jumping in requires you to jump to the safest most of the time. I have to say most of the time because sometimes it just randomly will work, right? Sometimes the enemy team makes a terrible mistake and you can get a rando super jump right to the front lines and just win the game. It happens. But most of the time it does not. At least in like decently organized play, it does not happen. So you would have to jump to your anchor. You'll hear this also referred to as backline, but anchor is the more correct term. That's your long-range weapons. That's the ones that stay back, stay alive. Oftentimes they paint a lot for you. Your Chargers, your Jet Squelchers, and your Splatlings. I guess your X-Sploshers and things also. But you have to jump back to these guys. But jumping back to these guys puts you out of position. Then you have to take 5 more seconds to get into position. And by that time, if you... I didn't mean to pick that up. By that time, your team with the Rainmaker, since they've been fighting at this point a 2v4, your push is definitely gone. Your push has definitely been stopped here. By the time you get up here, these guys are dead. No, I don't want to pick up the Rainmaker. These guys are dead. Yeah. And now you're fighting, a 1v3 essentially because the E-Leader's still back here. Because he's playing an anchor. He's not going to rush up on these guys because he has to be a long-range weapon. And that's the thing with super jumping. Yes, it is... Oops, I bumped my microphone. It is amazing and it is extraordinarily powerful to be able to essentially teleport to any other player on the map immediately out of spawn. The issue is that you have to take very safe jumps or else you just instantly die. And then you've wasted basically, 16 seconds at that point of the game? 16 seconds in Splatoon is like 5 minutes in real world time. It's an enormous amount of time. That's not even to mention, when you're back here, and I'm going to bring this up because you brought it up. Or rather, Award brought it up. I can't figure out if I want to be addressing this to you as in talking to Award directly or just to the general populace while mentioning Award's Squidward's post here. But that's not to mention the fact that the enemy team is pushing, right? Green's pushing, and they've got all this... No, I don't want to do that. Got all this turf painted up in green, and yada yada, so on and so on. That's just more turf for the purple team to paint over. I know Award talked about how as the attacking team pushes up, they get more turf, more territory, so they're likely to get specials, which is true. However, it also goes in the opposite direction, because once they're all pushed up right here, and all of this area in the purple team's like spawn is painted green, that gives purple team a really, really good, well, how can I word this? That gives purple team a lot of free green ink to just paint over and get their specials, right? This 52 is just going to be like farting his purple ink over here. Charger's going to be going pew, pew, pew. I hope you enjoy these sound effects. Squeezer is kind of like a junior if he's in his painting modes, so he's going to be like this. Tetra's, so on and so forth. The more the green team pushes, the more specials they're going to have to fight against. Because when they push up, the purple team can sit in their spawn completely safely and just paint over the ledge and just get their specials over and over and over again, because the green team can't push up without painting this area. But painting this area is also feeding purple team specials, essentially. So, yes, green team, once they're in about this plat, will probably have 2 or 3 specials that go up. You know, an Inkjet, a Inkvac, or maybe a Crab. But purple team also has all of this territory to just paint over again. And theoretically, in fact, this happens tons and tons in really back and forth games. One team will push it, 30 points, die. The other team will just paint directly over their push in 10 seconds, get the Rainmaker, or whatever the objective is, push it through mid, another 40 points, die. And then the green team will come in and paint over that plat area again, get the objective, go in and die again. It's like an endless cycle. Everyone's just getting their special, going in and dying, right? Of course, when you're talking about high level, this happens like not much, because each team is gradually figuring out how to actually push this, and so on and so forth. But you do see this happen. 2 teams that are very equally matched, this will often happen. And that's why. Because the game is kind of balanced around the defending team should get their specials to be able to defend that. What the defending team should not be doing is, let me delete all this, is randomly, as these guys move in, oops, not what I wanted. I hate that they do this. Is not like the charger should not drop down here. This is what happens a lot in solo queue, solo ranked. Is that when people start losing, when people lose the lead, they start feeding. And feeding is just basically jumping into the enemy's bullets. So if the Splash-O-Matic is and the sloshing machine are right here, this doesn't go through people's heads for some reason until they get much better at the game, and I can't tell you why, because it's the most common sense thing ever. But this is what they do. They blast out of spawn, they roll around a few times, they get here, and they expect to just 1v2 these guys and win this fight. This does not happen. You can't just decide, you can't just drop in while the enemy team has control and expect, I'm just going to kill all these guys, because it's just not going to happen. You don't have paint control, you don't have the pressure, and you're fighting at a massive numbers disadvantage. This guy's just going to die. And this is where I think a lot of the complaints come in about how it's too difficult to stop the opposing team pushing, is because, one, in low ranks, nobody knows how to use chargers because they're more difficult and require better aim. So, not saying that, anyone who deals with this problem is in lower ranks. I'm just saying that as you get higher up like the skill ladder, harder and harder to use weapons, such as the squeezer, such as the chargers, get more common, of course, as people get better at the game. And in lower levels, you see a lot of shooters, rollers, dualies, short range stuff. And the short range stuff, it has a harder time because of its short range, because it can't just snap someone from halfway across the map as you're defending like a charger can. These guys are kind of forced to go in and fight because they don't have the range to do anything else. This is where bombs come in handy. If you have like splat bombs, suction bombs, fizzy bombs, also very good on the defense, because you essentially can give your weapon charger range without having to be a charger, right? You can throw a bomb pretty far, and that'll stop. Oftentimes, if not completely stop, then do a great deal of work to stop a enemy push. This is why a lot of top level, high level players will say that if your weapon doesn't have a bomb, like a lethal bomb, that's flat bomb, suction bomb, auto bomb, to some extent fizzy bomb, or a burst bomb, it's bad for the most part is because of this. Lethal bombs are so powerful, and that's the reason why, is because they give your weapon a lot of extra range and a lot of specifically extra one-shot range. So you don't have to just go in and feed over and over again to try and get something done that you're not ever going to get done. Do I have anything else to say? It's been very long-winded, very random. I don't have a script, I just have ideas. I'm not sure if I... I'll edit this part out if I think of something. Okay, yes, that's right. You also have this thing called passive special charge. And this is a thing the game never tells you about. You have to notice it for yourself. And it took me, I don't know, maybe a year after playing Splat 1 to even notice it was happening. If you notice, if you're losing the game, watch your special meter, because it will start filling on its own. You won't have to paint anything, and the special meter will still go up. In Rainmaker, I remember specifically if you're losing, it's 3 special points per second. This is one of Nintendo's many ways of helping you get out of this lockout, this defensive position here. So when the enemy team's pushing, you're going to be getting your special at a higher rate, just naturally because of the passive special charge. Also because you're just painting over enemy turf as they get closer to you more safely. So theoretically you should be farming out a lot more specials than the enemy team, than the pushing team is. So that's how you would stop that push. And a lot of defense also comes down to fundamentals. I find defense is a lot more difficult than for most players than offense is, because offense, that's I grab, I get the objective and then I run forward and I kill everyone I see. Where defense is very much, I'm gonna stay in this general area. I'm gonna make sure nobody gets past here. I'm gonna take selective kills depending on which one's more important to get at the time. Things like that. And that's really hard for people at, I was gonna say lower ranks, but I think borderline comp players have difficulty with this. Low level comp players struggle with this also. The idea that just because the enemy team is winning doesn't mean we should lose all hope that we're never going to get it back, because that's definitely a way you're not going to lose, or you're not going to win, is if you're getting pushed on and you just decide, the game's hopeless, I'll never get this back. Well, with that attitude, no, of course you're not going to get it back. You have to do things in order to win. This is the most obvious advice ever, but in order to win the game, you must do things that allow you to win the game. And one of these things is, they're pushing? Why don't I respond with a booyah bomb? They're trying to kill me. I'm playing an Explosher, for example. They're trying to take over the zone. Well, what should I do? Maybe you don't need the zone. Maybe you can let them take the zone for a few seconds, and when they push up, you can punish that, right? Maybe you can let them push the Rainmaker a little bit. Maybe they can even get the lead by a few points, as long as it puts you in a good position to then get a double or a triple kill on the enemy team, and then you can push it right back and get the lead back, right? These are sort of basic fundamental things of Splatoon that unfortunately the game doesn't do a very good job at teaching you. And there are a lot of good videos on the internet, on YouTube. People like that SRB2 Dude, Prochara, FLC. Every once in a while, FLC will upload a video or something. And these are just great resources for learning fundamentals, learning when to do things, when not to do things. Oh, I should be sharking here. I should be, pushing. Should I be staying alive, keeping my team safe right now so they can jump back in? Or should I try and get the kill on the tower rider, for example? There's all these kinds of situations, and this is just one of them. The sort of do I super jump or do I not super jump situation. You have to make this. You have to weigh the pros and cons in your head. You have to analyze the area, and you have to make the decision in the span of about half a second. I think, if on the time scale most people are using. So basically, the too long didn't watch of this is super jumping is incredibly powerful. I don't think it breaks the game at all. I agree with everything Award says, but I disagree with their conclusion that it makes the game too volatile, makes the game too snowbally. And I would also debate them on the idea that a snowbally game is necessarily a bad one, or that the momentum in this game is a bad thing. Yeah, I guess that's all I have. This is a pretty bad video, not gonna lie. This is pretty stinky. If you have any questions, any comments, concerns, complaints, I guess let me know. Thanks.